Boost your hub. That's what you want.
Hey everyone, it's CurlyHairedHero and welcome back to Princess Episode 5 Crystal Drive. We're still in the middle of the Ultimate Trial Singles Tournament. I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can make it through this again relatively easily. It hasn't been all that rough for the first two rounds. I did say that we're in the semifinals, right? The first two rounds weren't all that bad, but we'll see if we can get through this rather simply. We're using here Tachibana, the Elder. I don't remember his actual first name still, and he is a quite interesting character in that he's not very much explored from what I remember in the series, but he's quite okay. He's quite okay as a playable character so far, which should make a lot of sense considering that they spend a lot of time sort of building him up, which is kind of interesting. It's always, I don't know, I think I've discussed it before, where it's just kind of interesting when series or like even video games, like not even just like a movie or a TV series or anything like that, just like even in like the story of like a video game or something like that, anything like that, the sort of progression that the writers and creators have to go through in order to like legitimize certain like threats or characters or, you know, strengths and whatnot. It just reminds me so much of wrestling, where that's like pretty much all wrestling is trying to build up certain people to look, you know, better than others, or, you know, weaker than others, or whatever the case may be, so that once you build up that sort of not so much understanding, but not relationship, that sort of, I guess, like knowledge, there's a better word, but the knowledge to the viewer, right? You convey to them what you want them to know about that current feud or whatever is going on, and it's kind of your job to do it as best as you can. So if you want this one person to seem really weak against this other person, you gotta try to find a way to convey that appropriately. And they kind of try and do that in a lot of video games also, but I think one of the games that fails the most at doing that is, for example, Pokemon, where they have you, every game has this sort of rival character that doesn't necessarily follow you throughout the game, but throughout the game and you make, throughout the progress you make throughout the game, they show up and you have to battle them as sort of your test of strength. And they're supposed to be someone that is, in most games, they're like a step ahead of you all the time. And they're supposed to be like one of your biggest challenges to an extent, past like, you know, the ultimate challenges and like any of that other stuff. They're supposed to be like a pretty big challenge because there's someone that's presumably about your level, considering you both start usually at the same time, and they are also supposed to be slightly better than you sometimes because they tend to, like, for example, go to gyms earlier than you and get the gym badge before you, and they tend to just always be ahead of you, right? Which is kind of ironic because, at least for me, because I usually spend a lot of time dicking around now in Pokemon games rather than just going straight to the story, so duh, of course my my rival character is going to make it way faster to the point where we're supposed to get to than me. But the problem with that is that they don't really have any way to build them up just because of the way Pokemon is structured. They tried to sort of change it up a little bit in like Sun and Moon, where you had like you had two sort of rival characters, and there was like a trio is what I'm trying to say, including the player character, and you had sort of like the friendly rival character, and then you had the more like edgy rival character, and they actually did a moment where the other characters, you know, battled each other to see who was strongest, and the like nicer rival lost to the more edgier one, and it sort of paints a picture of like, okay, so the only thing I have to compare these battles to are my battles in which I won all of them, right? Because you have to, by default in the story, like, you don't have a choice. If you don't win, you can't progress. So obviously that paints a picture where, like, okay, I'm better than these two, no matter what, right? Because they can't beat me. Then you see one of the other characters beat another character, and he's like, oh, okay, so that guy is right after me, and then the guy that lost, he's at the bottom of the totem pole, right? And that's just kind of how that goes. And I feel like they should really do more stuff like that in Pokemon, but like explore maybe having the player lose instead. Considering that a lot of RPGs already do this, where they sort of like do. I forgot what the actual term is, but they just have battles where you're just forced to lose, right? And I know a lot of people might hate it, but it's just supposed to sort of build the story that they're trying to tell you of you not being as strong yet, and you still have to go and make your way and get strong, which is sort of the whole, like, one of the whole main themes of Pokemon, but I don't think they express it really well. Because you just start out from the beginning and you're like, immediately the shit, and you just go through trailblazing through everything, right? Even if you are having a hard time, you can't actually progress unless you're like the shit, right? So even if everyone's giving you a hard time and you lose like 50 times in a row, that doesn't really count towards like the main sort of story, right? Because as soon as you lose, the game kind of resets and it puts you back at like a checkpoint, for lack of a better comparison, right? So in terms of the actual story's lore, you're just constantly getting your ass beat. Or sorry, you're constantly beating their ass. You're beating everyone's ass, you're the best, right? So it's kind of, they kind of like acknowledge this a little bit in Legends Arceus, where you're like this isekai character that comes out of nowhere. And because of this, you're just amazing. You know how to do all these things. These guys can barely catch Pokemon, and here you are. First time you show up, you catch 3 Pokemon in a row, and etc, etc. So that kind of makes sense. It doesn't make as much sense in the other games where you're just literally just starting out as a Pokemon trainer, like you just got your first Pokemon a day ago, and you're already going through all these amazing challenges, like back to back to back, non-stop, right? Which I guess they're trying to like do some sort of like storytelling with all of the how do you say this? All of the battles in between, with all like the trainer fights and whatnot. They're trying to sort of build it up that way. But I just wish it was like done a little bit more cinematically, right? I think that would really help out, especially going further in future Pokemon games. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and see if we can get through these dudes here. Realize that, okay, I'm gonna get hit with one of these, huh? Alright, that one, I guess, I don't know if he just missed the combination, or because even if he just hit 2 of them, it's still like essentially a super shot. It's just not as like flashy, but it's still an automatic point win. But okay, interesting. Anyways, we are going up against an entire team of the Red School here. I just realized, because we've got Saisaki, we got the train guy, I think it was Ibuki, and then we have Kurubane, which is the power guy that looks basically like Momo, but with like I think a slightly different haircut, more or less. Not that guy, that's still Saisaki. But ironically, we used both of these guys in a team, Saisaki and I think it's either Itsuki or Ibuki. I forgot which one it is. I might be thinking of Ibuki because of Vanguard Zero. But in any case, ooh. Wow, that was very quick timing on that. I'm not even sure what that the requirements are for that movie. Even though I did use him, I honestly don't remember because those were such a blur because they were the mixed match ones, so it's kind of just going through whatever. But I actually did lose a game here, as you'll see, which is a bit unfortunate. As soon as I kind of did the opposite, where like I was going into this deep tangent about my thoughts on Pokemon or whatever, and then immediately after that, I stopped talking to like, you know, cut through it, and then I somehow lost while not saying anything, where while I was talking a bunch of nonsense, I ended up winning, which usually isn't what happens. And they're actually going to be able to get a win here, so they're now 5-2. So they still have a small margin of a chance to try and come back here, but let's see if we can swatch that really quickly here. Go ahead and use our good old drop shot. I'm pretty sure I went over that, right? He has essentially his Elshiki drop shot, which makes a lot more sense why his sister has a killer drop shot as well. I don't know why they have the same level of drop shot. I would have thought her bounced a little bit, considering she doesn't really play tennis. I mean, she does, but she's like just their manager, and I don't think she plays on an actual professional team, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe not professional, but like on a school team, I should say. Oof, that is very far. I unfortunately went for the double-handed move, which doesn't give me as much range, because I just thought it was going to be like a power move from like this guy, for example, which automatically goes through my racket. Which is strange, because I have pretty good grip and power and whatnot, but oh well. We can pop this in over there. Our good old super fast shots here. And we might be able to just easily clear this up if they're not able to deal with this move here. And then we can go on to the next match, which will be the final round. And that should be it, yep. Fortunately, he doesn't have the ability to move all the way over there. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next round. Having this weird sort of like Mandela style effect where I'm not even sure if I did that Pokemon ramp before already, but wow, that is a very interesting team. Okay. I think that is actually the Shishido Ultimate skin that's actually on their team there, which is why that looked so odd. I thought it was Nanjiro, but yeah, it's the long-haired Shishido that we're up against actually. Wow. Very interesting. Alright. I wish it were the kind of thing where, like, since we're facing him, we get to unlock him that way, but I don't really know how to unlock it, just because typically for unlocking stuff, you, aside from like tournaments, right, that usually you play a tournament, you unlock a tournament, aside from unlocking things that way and, you know, doing certain requirements to unlock certain players, the way that you unlock stuff is by buying it at the Smith shop. And I've kind of, at this point, bought everything. The only thing I don't have at the moment, in terms of like tournaments, is the Ultimate Teams tournament, which I'm assuming will show up after I finish this one. If not, we're gonna have to figure something out. And I think I bought all of the goods, which are basically just these like random items that show up on the bench, depending on what character's out there. So there's like a broom for Mizuki for some reason, or something like that. I think you can have that girl Sakura. I think her name is Sakura. You can have her in like her school uniform instead of like her tennis uniform or something like that. Maybe the other way around. I think someone has I want to say someone has a guitar or something of the sort. But I believe I unlocked all of those, or I should say I bought all of those. It might be the kind of case where I have to unlock them also, because whenever I try to go to Smith's shop and I try to go to those sections to buy stuff, because he has different, like, I guess, storefronts or whatever you want to call it, different locations where I can go to, like, shop, he just tells me, like, yeah, I don't have anything, and then it just boots me out of there. So the only other thing that I can actually buy from there right now are he has these like trading cards that you can buy, which is like this sort of weird little gacha system. And essentially what that does is it lets you open a pack of trading cards, and then it'll give you just random things like just the images for, like, you know, when like they do a service ace or like when they do a special or something like that, there's like those cut-ins, right? You can buy those as just images that you can view in the gallery, and there's also, I think, like voice clips that you can unlock. And that's about it. I don't see how getting those would release any progression, but maybe that's the case. Yeah, so this is Shishido, but with long hair here. I think he has a couple of, it's actually a completely different character now that I look at it. I think he has different specials. He has a different cut-in, which is really cool. But he also has completely different stats. Because his speed and his quickness are nowhere near as high. Which, as you know about Shishido, he's like the super go fast guy who can get any ball, right? That's sort of like his whole gimmick. So this seems to be like before he did that, and he was more, I guess, focused on spin. That was like his highest stat there. So that's ultra interesting. I had a feeling that they had some slight differences from how the two play, but I didn't think it'd be that dramatically. Just, you know, speed being Shishido's main thing, so for him to not have that, it just feels like a completely drastic shift. But hey, that's just how it be, I guess. Let's see if he can come out again. I wish I can compare him with like actual Shishido stats, but I can't really do that in game right now, unless they were kind enough to use both Shishidos in one match. But I don't think the AI would do that because it counts them as unique characters. It would be funny to run into a team of like 3 tests or something like that, but don't think that'll happen. Let's see if we can drop shot the net expert. We did. Fortunately, as alright, this is a boost up to into super mode. Unfortunately, as good as all of Tachibana's specials are, they all cost 4 gauge, which is kind of annoying, because I can't really use them back to back like my opponent is able to right now. Go from court to court. I can't really do anything to break through that right now, but managed to hit a winner down the line there. That's the first time I think I've ever seen the computer use a special like that so many times in a row, which makes sense. I mean, that's sort of the whole point of the Awakening mode, is to just spam your specials. The computer is usually a little bit more reserved, but I guess because we're in like hard mode, like legitimate hard mode, they're actually, you know, bringing their A game. There we go. Yes, gonna go to game, or win game, or you know what I mean. We're back here with Shishido Longhair, Shishido of the past here. He, so far he's only done that one special we've seen. I've played, I think, like 2 games with him off screen. All he really did was, I guess it's like the first Shishido. They focused the whole episode on him. I don't really remember because it was so long ago, but I guess the first Shishido focused more on like net play, because it kind of sounds like what he's saying when he does his move. And I think Shishido is good at like the rising shot or the cap volley. So I think that's what his special is, essentially. But nonetheless, we're gonna get through this pretty easily. Not as much trouble as the previous round, considering these may be more difficult opponents, but in any case, we're gonna take down the team. We barely saw Oshitari, or not Oshitari, or Otori. But we'll see you on the other side of the credits. Hey, we're actually going to be able to get Ryoma as our coach here, which is, alright. Let's go ahead and really quickly just take a look here. So, I go to official match here. You'll see the trial singles is completed. There's nothing else. Now let's go ahead and check out the mixed match. See if the Ultimate Teams hopefully shows up. It did not. Well, okay. All hope may not be lost yet. Let's go over to Smith Shot. You can't really see it, but on the bottom screen I click, and it's supposed to take me to a menu, but it does not. It just tells me, I ain't got nothing for you, bro. Which is a little concerning. And then I check for the goods. There's some good that I haven't bought yet, so sure, we'll buy it. I can't read Japanese, so I don't know what the good is, but it doesn't really matter. Alright, well, I don't think I can... Oh, I can buy Shop BGM? Sure, that cost like all my money just now. But I guess now I officially got everything. There is no goods, there's no more BGMs, there's still no tournaments. And there's still the food corner where I can buy food to level up characters. Again, it's all on the bottom screen, so you can't really see it. So all that is to say, I don't know how we're gonna do Ultimate Teams. Oh, but I guess until I figure that out, take care of yourself.